Welcome back, Spiffers. Hello. It's good to see you again. This is Jamie Woodhouse, CEO and lead trainer at SaaS Educators, here with your 5-minute Salesforce Spiff tip of the week. Hope everyone's had a good time. I apologize in advance. Well, not in advance, but to start off for the lateness of this posting. It was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on Monday, and I didn't realize that that was going to impact my studio that I was at. And I couldn't get into it on Monday, and it's kind of thrown my whole week off of my regular schedule. So I apologize that you're getting this on Friday morning instead of Tuesday morning, but I'll handle that better in the future. And you're not going to miss next week's. We just had a late week this week. Next week, you'll get it back on Tuesday mornings. That's what I usually like doing, is posting these and launching these first thing on Tuesdays. All right, let's jump into the 5-minute tip of the week. If you remember from last week, we talked about and we worked through our first statement design and working through a line by line or an opportunity by opportunity, deal by deal data sheet payout rule that we created. And we went to the statement part and kind of worked on telling a better story. Well, what I want to do this week is just, okay, now that we've done the line by line breakdown of each opportunity and the data that's in there, let's go to the summary level and let's add some summary level things there and see how we add those summary levels from start to finish, building it in the worksheet as well as putting it on the statement design. So let's get going. All right. So we're back into Spiff, and let's go first to this statement so that you can see what we're trying to do here. So if you remember, we were in Ava Sasna's statement and the YouTube example plan, and we were looking at the deal percent ARR commission. We were actually looking in October, so let me go back to October so it looks familiar. And we've got all of these, all of this line by line and opportunity by opportunity data. But what if we wanted to add some key metrics and data here? Well, the way that we do that is we do that through summary calculations or worksheet calculations. So let's jump to Designer. And under our YouTube example plan, or our deal percent ARR commission, we've got a YouTube example worksheet. Now this is typically where summary level metrics are stored, are on worksheets. The one caveat to that is, I mentioned this a little bit here, that you can kind of summarize or sum up or average or do a few different things here in data sheets, and that becomes a summary level metric. What I've played around with this kind of back and forth in my head, but where I'm sticking right now and hopefully where I've landed is that I like this information here if just as an admin, so that if I need that data at my fingertips, I can go ahead and display it here as an admin. I can see that. I don't actually like creating these fields into calculations. I use elsewhere. It's too hard to find to edit them. If I need to edit them in the future, it's easier to just stick with, okay, all of my summary calculations that I'm displaying or using in calculations in my logic, I'm going to put on worksheets. These bottom summary levels that I can go ahead and do, these are just for me as an admin, just in case I want a quick, what's the total ARR in the period? I can go ahead and sum that up and bring that up. I usually, again, maybe in my past video I said rename this. I don't like renaming these, just keep them generic. That way we're not using them anywhere. And it's just for me as an admin to kind of see that data. All right. But let's talk through what we want to look at. I'm going to go ahead and open this up in a new tab, like I mentioned last time, which is a good way to jump back and forth between your statement and your designer when you are when you're building your statement. So the key metrics and data that I want to show up here is, I thought it would be really great. Let's say that for this YouTube example plan that we've got a quarterly quota that each one of our reps have to hit. And so I thought it would be good to show them their quarterly quota. So as they move through the quarter, October, November, December, they can see how they're pacing on their quarterly quota, as well as the attainment. We have the quarterly quota, which it doesn't move. It's their quarterly quota. I want to show the attainment as well to show them how they're progressing through their quota, through their sales that they're doing. And then maybe I'll add some other summary metrics to show what their total ARR, that's what we're going to base their attainment off of, is the total ARR they've closed. We'll do closed in the period as well as closed in the quarter so that they can see both of those at a summary level. So it gives them that data at their fingertips. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Designer. We have our YouTube example worksheet that we've played around with a little bit. First thing we want to do is we want to create or pull from a quota table. I've already got this quarterly training quota table, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if you've got your own quotas just for this plan and it's not, overarching. It's good that the regular quotas that you create are kind of at a larger level down here, and that goes across the whole company. But let's say you just needed a quota for this plan, and that's what I'm going to do. I can actually click on these dots, choose a new quota table. I'm going to call it my YouTube. Oh, can't contain spaces. My YouTube quota. I'm going to make this quarterly. I'm going to add my people by clicking on the add remove members up here. I'm grabbing Ava and I'm grabbing Chloe. And I'm just really quickly setting up these quotas. Now, because my data is back in 2024, which I'm hoping to refresh here as soon as 2026 data is available. I don't like always having to go back, but that's okay. We'll go back to 2024. And let's say that Ava's quota each quarter is 250,000. And Chloe's is 150,000. No, not 15,000, 150,000. A nice little trick here, if you haven't figured this or seen this yet, you can actually, once you enter in your first quarter quota, that's a tongue twister, for your whole team, you can just highlight all of those. It gives you the little box in the lower right, just like it would in like a spreadsheet, like Excel. You can click and drag that, and that will just copy those over. Makes it a little bit easier so you don't have to type those in over and over again. Hopefully that blew some minds. Some of you are like, whoa, how did I never know I could do that? Saves you a little bit of time. All right, so I've got my YouTube quota, and now I just need to reference that when I'm on my worksheet. So I've already got my quotas section, and so I'm going to create a new field, and I'm just going to use our quotas function to pull that information. All right, we've got a quota function and a quotas function. All I need is one quota back for each rep, so I'm just going to use quota. It tells me what I need. I can do some optional things. Again, I can click on the yellow, and it will open up my function library so I can read a little bit more about it. But all I need is the name. I wish that I could copy and paste it right from here, but you have to just kind of look at it and type it in there. So YouTube quota. All right, and that should pull back 250,000 for Ava and 150 for Chloe. So it's taking its little time refreshing. Let's go ahead and change and see if it'll catch up here. Sometimes this just takes a little bit of time. But I do want to make sure that it actually works before I start using it. All right, while it's doing that, I can go ahead and just rename this quota field. I can double click up here or double click down here, and I'm just going to call this the YouTube quota. so that it renames that. Let me refresh the screen. Maybe that'll do the trick. There we go. So for Ava and for Chloe. All right, my quote is in there and it's working just fine. All right, so the metrics that I want is I want a quarter to date ARR that's been closed. I want a total in the period quota that was closed, as well as and I'm just totally blanking on the word, even though I brought it up. The attainment percentage on that. So I'll just do this under my metrics section. Another thing too, if you start getting a lot of data on your worksheets, is you can also click on this little tag to bring up the names of each one of these so that you can kind of quickly and easily tell what each one of these do. Just kind of depends on if you like seeing those, or if you don't, you can hide those or you can show those. I'm just going to hide them just because I know what I want to create. So this one, I am going to first do let's do the sum of the ARR in the period. So I'm just going to do a sum. When I click in here, we always start with an equal sign. We'll do a sum function. And it just wants either a data sheet or a data filter. Like I mentioned in a previous video, I always recommend doing data filters, not data sheets. It kind of goes to the source and doesn't go through multiple different steps to get to what you need. So I know I've got a closed in period, closed by rep in period. There we go. That should sum up everything for the rep in the period. Oh, and of course, I got to give it the field that I want it to sum up. At first, I'm seeing this triangle. I know I'm forgetting something. I want to sum up all the ARR. So in that data filter, I sum up all of the ARR. And that will give me the sum for each one of those. I'm going to quickly rename this to total ARR in period. Oh, I was afraid of that I would already have that in use somewhere. If I see that message that it's in use somewhere, I should probably just use that from somewhere else. But just for our example, I'm just going to call this my YouTube total ARR in period. All right. And then what do I do for quarter to date? Well, hopefully I've got a filter. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with data filters, I've got a link in the comments below the video back to our data filter example of how to create data filters and what they do. So I know I've got a quarter to date filter that will bring everything as the quarter moves through it. So I'm going to go ahead and do another sum. I'm going to look for a quarter closed by rep in the quarter. And again, the ARR. Blue check mark or enter, and it will pull that in. Again, to make sure that we're calculating it correctly. For Ava, that's what her data looks like in October. If I move to November, then it should show, okay, this is her new ARR in November, but it adds to the quarterly, and that's what it does. So that's looking good. December, same thing. And I can kind of gut check that and make sure it's calculating correctly. Forgot to name my field. So I'm going to name this one YouTube QTD ARR. Yeah, that works. And then finally, I'm going back to October just so that we can see it from the beginning of the quarter. Last thing I want is I just want the attainment. How do I do that? It's a simple mathematical equation where we just take since this quota is a quarterly quota, I divide the quarterly ARR or quarter to date ARR by the quota, and it will give me a percentage of how close they're getting to their quarterly quota. So I'm just going to equal. I love it that you can click to reference, and I'm just going to take the YouTube Q to date ARR, add a space, divide it by the quota. I don't like how it's formatted that way, so I'm going to go to the right, change my display format to %, have it 2 decimal places, and that's looking good. So that's what it is for Ava. As I go to November, she exceeds her quota there. And I'm always good or bad at following my own advice. Always rename your fields after you create them, even before if you want to. We'll just call this YouTube UTD attainment. All right, I can double check for Chloe. And works similar. Looks like she doesn't hit her quota until the final, because she closes a ton in the final there. So now that we've got the data here and we're ready to go with it, now we just go back and we add it to our statement. So we go back to our statement. Anytime we do something in Designer and we need to bring it to our other window or our other tab, we always need to recalculate and sometimes refresh. Let's try it without the refresh. I'm going to start in October, so that works. I'm on Ava, right? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and recalculate her statement. All right. Now I go to my edit, so I can add my metrics on here in the deal % ARR commission. I click on edit metrics and I go ahead and just search for those fields. So I look for YouTube, and luckily I put all of those in there in YouTube, so it'll make it really easy to do that. Again, this is just going to be the API names, the labels of the actual fields. I like searching by that because they're specific. I could search by display name if I toggle this on as well. Right now, the display name and the API names are the same, but I always like searching by the API names. I'm going to go ahead and add all of these. Notice how a difference with the columns. I can't rearrange these here. I just add them all and click apply, and it's going to go ahead and add those. All right, since this is brand new data, it gives me my message that we're going to have to, actually now that we've added it, since it's not in any of the calculations to create this, I'm going to go ahead and hit done editing and recalculate this statement, expand and contract this thing, or contract and expand, and voila, here we are. Excuse me. Okay, so if I wanted to rearrange these, let's say I wanted to put the quota first, back into edit mode, I can go ahead and now I've got these little 4 arrows. I can just start moving my cards around. Let's do attainment. Let's do their total in the period, and then their attainment, and then their quarterly total. Well, this is all nice and well, but it doesn't really look super great. So let's go ahead and just change the formatting. As you remember, or I should ask the question, where do we change our formatting? Back in Designer, that's right. So we click on done editing, go back into Designer. This one is a % format, so I already like that, but I am just gonna go ahead and change the display name because they don't need to know that it's YouTube. The YouTube plan, that's something just for us, so I'm just gonna call this quarterly attainment. But realize how each plan will probably start having these quarterly attainments or these quarter to date ARR totals. And so you might start seeing a lot of display names. That's why it's easier to search for the API name and not the display name. All right. I'm going to call this one quarter to date. I could call it revenue maybe, but I'm just going to say ARR. My reps know that this is their ARR for each quarter. They're familiar with that ARR term. And then I'm just going to call this one period ARR total. All right. Let me do, and of course the thing I forgot was the numerical look wasn't really good. And so I want to go ahead and just update these to currency, and that will make sure that they look like currency on the statement. Finally, the quota. I'll keep the YouTube because they know this is the YouTube plan, and just call this the YouTube plan quota. Change that to currency, and voila, we should be good. Now, when we go back, all we have to do is we need to recalculate every time we make those changes, and then we can either refresh or I can collapse and bring that back. And that looks much nicer and a lot cleaner so that our reps can see that. This just shows kind of the first period information. I actually don't really like that that's at the front. I probably should put that at the end because this is all quarter, 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 and then the period. So I'm going to edit that. I'm going to put this at the end because that's just a nice to have. It doesn't really help with their quota or anything like that. And I'm going to do their attainment third. That way it's a little bit more mathy. I can see my quota, I can see my closed, and then I can see my attainment. All right. If I go to November, now look, you will notice that in November, if I go to my deal percent ARR, none of that stuff shows up. It's because I was only calculating October when I was going back and forth. And so I'll probably just want to go in Designer, back to Designer, and just once it looks the way that I want it to look, I'm going to go ahead and do a mass calculation for my YouTube plan. For all of my reps, it will go ahead and calculate that. Now I can come back, and when I look at November for Ava, I just collapse this and show it up again. And now we can see that their numbers are coming through just the way that we want. I can even look at Chloe's if I want to and see the same thing. All right, pulls in that information, looking good there. She can go to October, see her numbers there as well. And it just tells a better story having all of that data in there. And so that's what I like. All right. Next week, again, to give a little teaser, what I'll do is now that we've got some good summary metrics down here, I'm going to show, a lot of people like to show attainment details up here. We've got a nice little graph that is a little ring graph that kind of helps them see if it's closed or if it's not. Just gives them some more information. So we'll move next week to these cards and statement cards and how to create those and use those. I might even throw in how to do some custom ones, but we'll see how I'm feeling next week. All right. Thanks, everybody. If there's anything that I went too fast over or didn't make sense, or I just skipped a step because in my brain it kind of logically worked, but I missed talking about it, feel free to leave comments in the video and say, hey, do another video or remind me of this one step, and I'll either reply to your comment, or if it's big enough, I'll create another video for you. But always looking for future topics, so please let me know in the comments how you're liking these, what other topics I can give you that you would find interesting, or if you find an area in Spiff that you're like, I always wanted to learn more about this, but I have no idea where to even start, let me know, and I'll see what I can do to put one of these, maybe a few of these 5-minute tips of the week put together. As always, I just want to close with a little plug. The spring season of my 2-day seminars. I actually created a 2-day seminar this year. It used to be 3-day seminars that we used to do. I found a way to get all the good information into 2 days by rearranging things a little bit. I know your guys' time is precious, so hopefully you'll like the 2-day format better so that you don't have to take as much time off of work. But come and join me. I do seminars across the country. And so go to saseducators.com. It is in the link. The link is in the comments or the description of the video. And sign up and come and see me. You'll get access to a training environment just like I have here. It won't be the same as your production environment, so we can play around in it as much as you want, and you're not going to have to worry about breaking anything there. We'll get a lot deeper into a lot of these topics. These tips of the week are really meant to kind of scratch the surface and give you some introductions. We'll do some fun, more advanced pieces at the boot camp. So come check out the dates and come join me. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. If there is a location if none of the locations are close enough to you and you're like, man, I'd really love it if you came here in my city, that's a little bit closer. There is a form at the bottom of the website page to request any location you want. And I'll email you and kind of let you know if we get enough people that want that as a location, then I'll come to that location, and that'll be a lot of fun. All right. See y'all next week. Have a great one.